Oh, I forgot to load the YouTube page. That would have helped. Let's see. There's always something. I don't even know for live. Let me know in the chat. If you can hear us chat, let me know. You'll be my signal. And I forgot, since we're doing this a different way, how I normally load this. I think we're live. I think we're live. 1 second. I see no participation in the chat, but that just could be because they don't like us. Let's see. Select stream. Damn, where is it? I completely lost it. All right. And we're live. I don't even know if we are. But you know what? We've been live just sitting here whispering creepily for the last 5 minutes. I'm sure we must be live. Let me go ahead and go to Double Vision. Just me and the Grifster here today. Someone just pinged me. Let's see here. Okay, we're good. Yeah, so Grifster and I are going to be doing the show. Lewis is, unfortunately, at the vet. He has fleas. He has a cat, and his cat's not doing too well. And it kind of made it sound like he was going to be having to maybe put his cat to sleep, right? Does that what it sound like to you? I didn't go super into it because I didn't want to make him start crying. But he seemed like...
that was the gist of what I got.
That's kind of seemed like maybe where he was going with it, yeah. Man, it is truly tragic to lose a pet.
Mm-hmm.
I used to have these pet rats when I was in middle school. No, I guess this is earlier. This was elementary school. George and Gracie. And the thing about albino white rats is they tend to get tumors. I don't know if you knew this. I don't know why. But I think both of the rats ended up getting tumors, and one of them had like this really big tumor on its leg. And my family at the time told me that they were going to take it to the vet and probably have to put it to sleep. And I believed that for many, 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 many years.
Mm-hmm.
But now that I'm older, I'm like, did they really take that rat to the vet? I seriously doubt it. It's a rat. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, do people take rats to the vet? I don't think so. Like, I don't know what they did to that dang rat, but I have a feeling that they probably just took it and released it into the woods, which might have been a better life for it. I don't know. But it got pretty pampered when it lived with me. I used to play with it all the time. Are you grossed out by rats?
No.
Okay,
I'm one of the people who understands that although rat is a worse word than mouse, rats are actually much better animals. You know.
Oh yeah, I would never own a mouse.
They're friendlier.
Yeah, they're way
Mice are
friendlier.
mean.
Mice are mean, and I used to own a mouse, and it bit me. That dang thing bit me. But the rats never bit me. Like, they were super smart. They're almost like dogs. They are very intelligent, and they like to play, and they're also very empathetic. Like, I feel like they can maybe react to your emotional state more than like a mouse doesn't care about you. A mouse is like a lizard. Like, a lizard does not care if you live or die. It cares nothing about you at all. It doesn't even know you're there unless you're feeding it. But we digress. Okay, look. If you all can hear us...
Trying to think if I have any fun animal death stories, and I can't think of any. It's
fun.
weird.
Is that your takeaway from my story? You sick, sadistic. Yeah, so I don't know what happened to the rat, but RIP, I really did love those two rats. All right, let's go ahead and get things rolling here because we got some Apple stuff to talk about. Look, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. I was telling Griffin, it's not looking good out there for Apple stories this week, but we did pull some stuff together, and we're going to wrap up with an all-new What We're Into to kind of spice things up. It's going to be a little slow for the next 6 to 7 months until summer. No, it's going to be a little slow until March, I think, when we start hearing about Vision Pro again and Apple Watch, perhaps, and iPad and stuff, but that's all right. We got all sorts of other stuff to fill in the meantime. So I'm going to go ahead and queue up Mrs. D. Unfortunately, we won't have the Lou Cam available here because he's not here. Maybe I'll leave it on. But we're going to get this thing rolling. Oh, Mrs. D. Oh, Lou Cam is missing. Oh, Mrs. D, how are you today? Oh, I'm lovely. Oh, I did. No more Lewis, huh? No, not today, Mrs. D. Oh, well, I would love to hear his face when he heard that I made love to El Caney last night. Ah! Oh, I'm sure he would have been grossed out by that, Mrs. D. We all are. And there's really no reason that you needed to work that into the opening intro. I don't know why you feel the need to always do that. But if you don't mind, instead of grossing us out, it'd be great if you could just kick us off. We'll get the show rolling. We actually have a lot of stuff to talk about here today. And let me get the music queued up, and we'll get this thing moving in 3. Hello, and welcome to the Colcast, the best 30-plus minute Apple conversation you're going to hear all week long. I'm your host, Aaron Liza. Join me today. Where is he? All right, there you go. His 2024 resolution is to not get caught by one Mr. Lewis Wallace. So he's spending his free time learning how to apply makeup and crafting his own facial prosthetics. Wow, sounds complicated. If Lewis comes searching, D. Griffin Jones will be hiding in plain sight. He's a writer at Colton Mac. D. Griffin Jones is here.
Good evening. You know, I haven't been caught yet, but maybe Lewis is gone because he's not actually at that. Maybe he's actually on a California flight to Columbus. Gonna search the fields.
He's just genius enough to do that. A decoy, right? So you think that, and actually this would be the perfect time to come get you because he knows where you'll be. You can't leave your chair since you're doing the show.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I'll just see him sneak up behind you and get you into one of those chokeholds, and I'll be like, Griffin, all I hear is, and then you'll just.
I'm just a sitting duck right here while I'm podcasting.
Forever. All right, sorry, I know I already mentioned this for those of you in the pre-show. Some of you are probably wondering where Lewis is. Lewis couldn't make it. He's having a little personal matter with his kitty. His kitty is not doing too well. I don't know what is going on with Kitty, but he said that his kitty had a sudden diagnosis. He took him to the vet, I guess, thought it was something simple, and it turns out that it's not simple. And so he may be putting down his cat today, which is terribly sad, obviously. So he's not going to be here for the show. Yeah, it's funny. There's all sorts of crazy cat diseases out there. My neighbor across the street has a cat who he has to keep confined indoors at all times. And he told me this, and I don't know if this is true, but this is what he told me. He said that his cat has like the feline version of AIDS. Have you heard of such a thing?
Oh yeah. One of my friends has a cat with feline herpes.
Really?
Yeah, can't meet any other cats.
Cats can get cat STDs.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I never would have imagined in my wildest dreams that was something that could happen. I mean, especially like cat AIDS. Like, is that a real thing? We should probably Google that. But that's what he told me, and he wasn't joking about it at all. He was dead serious. So he said he had to keep his cat indoors. Cat herpes, I tend to believe a little bit more because, I don't know, it's like a virus that's around. But cat AIDS? You know?
I have nothing more to add to this.
Griffin is doing his absolute best to not say anything. Okay, well, we'll move on. Moving on swiftly. So we have a great little show for you all this week. We're going to talk about probably what is the biggest update yet to the Apple Watch X, which I think is going to be coming perhaps even in the next 3 months. Do I have that wrong? I'm thinking March for the Apple Watch.
The Apple Watch comes out in the September event.
Does it really? God,
yeah.
I have my dates all screwed up.
This happened just 3 months ago. We got an Apple Watch.
Has it only been 3 months? Wow.
Yeah.
For the Ultra, though, I guess we also got the 9. Well, they're gone now, so maybe Apple will just sweep those under the rug and come out with a new one because there won't be another Apple Watch, and it won't have blood pressure or a blood oxygen monitoring. All right, well, yeah, time flies when you're having fun. And we're also going to be talking about this big lawsuit that's happening in the U.S. It happened in the EU. Apple had to open up the App Store to sideloading and other payment systems and all this stuff. And now there is a U.S. antitrust case ongoing that is heating up that may also result in you being able to sideload on your Apple devices, which I know some of you are not big fans of, but I personally think that would be really cool. And we're going to talk a little bit about Apple's big push into gaming, which nobody cares about. But there was a big story about it this week, which I thought was kind of interesting about their renewed focus on gaming. I don't know if you all knew this, but Apple actually used to be huge in gaming. One of the biggest games ever made came out on the Mac. Some of you probably already know this story. If not, this will be interesting information for you. And how Apple is now making this big push to get into gaming. I don't know if it's going to pay off. I know what they have to do to make inroads into gaming. I don't know if they'll be willing to do it. They certainly have the money to do it. I don't know if they will do it. And then we're going to wrap up with an all new what we're into, because look, we only have 3 stories to get through. That's going to take us like probably 15 minutes. We have to have something to talk about here for 30 minutes. And so we'll have some new picks for you all to maybe enjoy. These are not Apple things, I don't think. You don't have any Apple things, do you? For what we're
No.
into? Okay,
Well,
good.
yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Apple related? Okay, well, I guess
I haven't actually nailed down exactly what I'm doing yet.
good.
I have show notes written for a few different things.
you're
We'll
going
see
full
what
canny on
happens.
us. Okay. Let's see here. Before we dive in, I want to say a quick thanks to Songfinch for supporting this episode. Songfinch, if I could bring it up here. There we go. Songfinch is the ultimate gift, an original radio quality inspired song, or a radio quality song inspired by your story. It's unique, personal, and lasts forever. Get started on your original song at songfinch.com/cultcast. I can't speak today. Songfinch.com/cultcast. I also want to thank Squarespace for supporting this episode. It's 2024, and you've been hearing me do these Squarespace spots for probably 7 or 8 years now.
Never heard of them.
Are you finally ready to stop being a slacker? I need to get that on the soundboard. You got to stop being a slacker. Get your act together. Get a website going. Start selling a product. And start printing your own money like I do with cultcloth.co. The money just rolls in. I do nothing. I do absolutely nothing. And the money just keeps rolling in. And a big part of that is my Squarespace website. I set it up. It didn't take me very long. I had it looking uniquely mine because you can drag and drop everything, customize absolutely everything, even though you don't even need to know how to code. And it integrates with my shipping provider, so everything just communicates with one another, and we get the shipments going out seamlessly. Now, Timely, that's a different story because we keep running out of product. But as far as the shipping process, everything communicates perfectly, and I never have to do anything to maintain it. It just runs without me, which is what I love about Squarespace. And you can build an online store. You could build a website for your business, your portfolio to show off your skill set to potential employers. There's just so much stuff that you can do with Squarespace to exist on the web, or build a business on the web, which, I do both those things. Couldn't recommend it highly enough. I pay for it every single month. Squarespace doesn't give it to me. And it looks like we have a new offer that you could take advantage of, which gives you an even bigger discount. If you haven't done this before, now's a great time to go to squarespace.com/cultcast, squarespace.com/cultcast, and sign up for the trial. And if you want to make a purchase, you can use code January. Oh, look, it just shifted. January, or JAN20WD. JAN20WD. You'll save 20% off your first purchase. I do a year of service at a time, which gives you an even bigger discount. So it's a great way to do it. JAN20WD. The code expires on January 6th. So get to it by then. Or if it's expired by the time you hear this, you can always use code CULTCAST at checkout, and you'll save 10% off your first purchase. Not as good, but still a discount at squarespace.com/cultcast. You know what? I was thinking that we were forgetting something. We forgot to do shout-outs in the pre-show to everyone in the chat. So we're not going to do them yet. But my apologies, everyone, that I forgot to do that. That's so weird. Did you guys watch John Prosser's TC documentary? Very nicely done. No, I haven't seen it yet. Did you see it, Griffin?
No,
Do you know what I'm talking about?
As I've stated before, I don't watch tech YouTubers,
Okay.
despite kind of being a tech YouTuber myself.
Yeah. Well, I don't watch a ton of them these days, but I did see that Front Page Tech released a Tim Cook documentary, and I'm all about that. So eventually I probably will watch it, but it says that chat's saying very nicely done. That's interesting. So is it just about Tim Cook and Apple under his tenure? Check it out on YouTube if you guys haven't. I'll give it a plug. I haven't seen it, but you all look like you like it. It's the Front Page Tech Tim Cook documentary. Definitely outside of what they normally do, because I think they normally do like iPhone rumors and that type of thing. So it looks like they're expanding out into Tim Cook. Definitely like that.
My entire understanding of John Prosser is seeing his obnoxious thumbnails and headlines and being like, "No, I'm not going to watch that."
You just refuse. You just
Yeah.
can't get yourself to do it. You know what? I have also gotten heat for being a little clickbaity on YouTube, although it's been a while since I've come out with a video. And the
Mhm.
thing is like, I get it. I get it. But the thing is being someone that makes content on YouTube and just making content, you kind of have to be a little clickbaity because you're trying to grow outside your normal audience. And in order to make it on YouTube, you have to grow. And in order
Mhm.
to grow, you have to say things that other people aren't saying. Now, I protest people who just say things that are outrageous. Like there's been several YouTubers who I have unfollowed and stopped watching because their title was so outside of what they actually were even talking about. They were clearly not even related to the topic that they were discussing, or the title was just a straight up lie.
Mhm.
And then you go to it and you're like, all right, dude, I've had enough of this. But I am okay with a little embellishment because you got to give it some amount of pizzazz. I mean, if you just say, my review of iPhone 15, I don't think people are going to click on that, but that's just me. All right. All right. Well, I'm not going to read what the chat's saying. All right, let's see. Let's keep going. Let's talk about Apple Watch X, the big update upcoming for Apple Watch. The biggest update probably since maybe the original, but we'll see about that. It looks like some big changes are coming to Apple Watch this year, probably in September, definitely not in March. Take it away, Griffin. Tell us about it.
Sure. So we've run a series of these articles, what to expect from, all these Apple product categories. We're going to bring special attention to the one on the watch because this sounds like it might be one of the most dramatic year-over-year changes in their lineup. So, the Apple Watch, world's most popular wearable, it could get its biggest redesign in its 10-year history in the form of a device potentially called Apple Watch Series 10, spelled with an X, or simply Apple Watch X. Leading to another year of us correcting people who call it Apple Watch X.
Nothing
Some
wrong
people
with
saying,
that.
"Oh no, it just sounds cooler."
There's
No,
nothing
the
wrong with calling it
X
the
is a Roman
X.
numeral. Oh well.
I'll die on that hill.
Yeah. So the bigger question is, will Apple, as the story starts, will Cooper actually be allowed to sell any Apple Watches in 2024? Because in the story that we've been covering, Apple was forced to stop selling the Apple Watch Ultra 2 and the Apple Watch Series 9 in the United States. Right now, they're because of a patent dispute by medical device maker Masimo, which claims the blown oxygen feature violates their patents. They're currently for sale right now until January 10th, as we record this. But after January 10th, they're going to be blocked from sale yet again. I don't know. I'll be honest. I don't know how long this ban is going to go on for. I think because Apple is having their fourth quarter financial results thing, I think in the first few days of February, either February 1st or the following Tuesday, I bet Apple will probably have an announcement by then because it would look very bad if they have to say to their investors that they don't have a solution to this problem yet. So I expect this to be resolved by the end of January. I feel like that Apple Watches are probably going to remain on sale throughout the whole of 2024. But anyways, coming in September, scroll down past all this. What exactly would an X upgrade look like for Apple Watch? According to Mark Gurman, a slimmer design with a larger screen, a new magnetic band connector, and new sensors are all on the cards. While the Apple Watch's screen has grown somewhat over the years, and the overall case has gotten a little bit rounder, the basic form factor of the regular Apple Watch has remained largely unchanged. There have been persistent rumors that it would switch to a flat-sided design, but that never happened, thankfully. I thought those were all ugly.
Oh, you did? I
Oh,
loved
yeah.
them. I thought they were beautiful, but yeah, we
I
never
mean,
got them, did we?
The thing is, if they were flat sides on that, it would get caught on you would bump it all the time. The fact that it's rounded means that it doesn't catch as easily on a table
that's
corner or a
interesting.
cabinet or a door handle like that. A big chunky side like that, it would just get caught in everything. But it is kind of remarkable how it hasn't gotten any thinner since the original one. I have a pile of old iPhones next to me because I always have props.
Let's see them.
like if you can compare the original iPhone,
Yeah.
that big chunky boy, to the iPhone 5 that came just a few years later, like it's about it's about a third as a thinner than the original one. Like, in just 5 years, it lost like 30% of its thickness. The Apple Watch is still virtually the same thickness as the original one. It's still kind of plump. You know, if I'm wearing a button-down shirt, as I usually am for 9 months out of the year in Ohio, because it's just that temperature, like I can't I can't use the thinner button on my shirt sleeve because the watch is like still thick. Like there's barely any wiggle room under my sleeve. It's and I have the smaller Apple Watch. It's
Yeah.
kind of weird how it hasn't gotten thinner, but
It's the battery,
I don't.
man. I think that's it.
Yeah.
I kind of wonder how much thinner they'll actually be able to make it for that reason, because in order to maintain battery life, batteries aren't getting smaller. I know that much. I mean, battery technology hasn't changed in a really long time. They keep making improvements, but even those improvements are modest, and they don't make they don't maintain capacity when they make the batteries smaller. So I kind of question how much smaller they could actually make this thing. Like if they made it, 10% smaller, I would be like, that's a huge accomplishment.
Mhm. There are a few ways they could do that. It sounds like the redesigned band connector is going to free up space inside, which we'll get back to. The display technology could get thinner. That is a good point, that they actually can't, physically cram more energy in the same battery without a significant, battery technology upgrade. But hopefully that happens because the Apple Watch is still kind of, chunky. Uh, as we were saying, Gurman suggests Apple Watch Series 10 might come equipped with a blood pressure sensor for identifying and tracking hypertension. This would be the first new sensor that they've added in a while. The standard location for measuring blood pressure is the brachial artery and typically involves wrapping an inflatable cuff around the patient's upper arm. Blood pressure varies in other parts of the body, so results measured from the wrist might not be as comparable. Unless Apple plans to include an inflatable watch band, Apple Watch 10 would need to estimate blood pressure with its optical sensors, which seems to be the way that they go for a lot of these things, using techniques known as, I'm not going to say that, BCG and PPG.
Close enough. We'll allow it.
This looks at the rate of flow in the blood vessel to determine blood pressure. It's not as accurate as using a cuff, but it might be good enough to indicate changes in the general trend of the wearer's blood pressure. They did a similar thing with the temperature sensor. Like
Right.
the wrist isn't a very good place to measure the temperature of your whole body. It's on the farthest end of one of your extremities, but they measure your overall trend in body temperature for specific medical purposes, not it won't tell you if you have a fever or anything. So slightly more useful with one more sensor. And we've talked about the supposed redesigned band connector
Yeah.
that'll slide in magnetically maybe. It is a good point that you have there that freeing up that internal space might have room for a larger battery, or at least a wider, skinnier battery for a thinner design. That might. The thing is, if they roll out a new band connector and they don't have a good reason for obsoleting your entire collection of old watch bands, people are going to be annoyed. But if they have like a good reason they can point to, like, we made the watch dramatically thinner, and that's why we made this change, people might be a little more receptive to it.
Yeah, there's going to have to be a good reason for them to make a change like that, especially because I feel like we were maybe not directly promised, but the implication was that your bands would always just be compatible with different Apple Watch models. Now, I will say, let me see if I can freeze this real fast. Oh man, I got this new app for my camera that allows you to control the settings from the app, and it works actually surprisingly well. So I can control, like, if I need to focus on something. Let's see if this actually works. Hold on, let me grab this real fast.
Oh, sure.
I won't leave you here by yourself for long. I know how weird that would be. Okay, so I just bought some new Apple Watch Ultra straps, and it looks like, let's see, are they still for sale? I hate to give these people a free plug, but I'm going to try to. Let's see here. Oh, no, never mind. They're no longer on sale, but they keep going on sale. So Verizon keeps having these crazy good sales on Apple accessories, and it's not just bands for the Apple Watch. Like I bought a MagSafe charger from them. I bought some pop sockets from them, and they'll sell this stuff for like 50, 60, 70% off sometimes.
Wow.
So the Apple Alpine Loop, the green one, which is no longer for sale by Apple, by the way, and I didn't realize they were going to do this. They seem to sell these colors seasonally, and then they change them. Well, I really like the green Apple Watch Alpine Loop, and so Verizon was selling them for $50 each. So I got a medium, and I got a large. I'm probably not going to keep both of them because that really wouldn't make sense.
You don't have two differently sized wrists. You know?
Well, no, I don't. So I don't skip Arms Day. So I'm probably going to try out the medium. I have the large here, and I like the large, but it's almost a little bit too large for me. You can see like the loop goes almost all the way around my wrist. So I was going to try out the medium. I bring this up only to give you all a heads up that if you like a specific Apple Watch strap that Apple makes, like, it's good to have an extra on hand because I think eventually they stop making those colors. And I think this is like the best Apple Watch strap that was ever made, and I got it for half off. So if you guys follow me on X, I might start posting deals like this. Occasionally I do post deals. I don't know if people actually like the deals, like as a content that I post on X. Like, I don't know if people actually enjoy those. But sometimes I run across these deals, and I'm like, dude, this is a crazy good deal. I know that $50 for an Apple Watch strap is a lot of money, and a lot of people think it's too much. I happen to be one of those people. But it is also a fantastic strap. And even though I don't like the price, I'm still willing to pay $50 for it because I love the strap so much. And I keep seeing these pop up on Verizon. So if I find this deal again, I will let you all know. But you're going to have to get them quick because they do sell out. And eventually, these Alpine Loops just won't be available anymore at all.
In your collection of Apple Watch bands, what do you think is the percentage of how many are Apple bands and how many are third-party bands?
So for my Ultra, the only bands that I have are actual Apple Watch bands. And I have no problem with third-party bands, especially the cheap ones that try to copy Apple because they're usually so cheap. And I really like the sport bands. I forget what they're called. They might actually be called the sport bands, like the nylon ones that have like the strap that adheres with a like little Velcro
I think
attachment.
those are the Sport Loop.
The Sport
band
That's
is
right.
the plasticky one that everybody has.
Well, I definitely don't like that one. I hate those plastic bands. But the Sport Loops I love, and I feel like the Alpine Loop is really close in design to the Sport Loop, but there is a quality problem with third-party bands. I mean, they don't always break, but I bought a Leather Link loop and it broke. I had some of the fake Sport Loops fail, but the thing is like they were $4 for the Sport bands, and I think the Leather Loop or the Leather Link loop that I bought was maybe $20. So it's like not the end of the world when they break. $4 I don't care about. I care more when it's $20. It's like, oh.
It's more worrying if they break when you're wearing and the watch goes tumbling on the ground.
I have never had that happen. They have broken in a way where they look bad, but they don't actually fail functionally. But the other thing too is, like, another pro tip is Woot keeps liquidating Apple Watch straps. The weird thing about Woot is you can't search for anything on their website, so you have to like literally browse for the thing that you're looking for. But they keep liquidating Apple accessories, cases, straps. I mean, you name it. MagSafe wallets. It seems like Apple is using them as a way to liquidate old stock, and so I have bought a ton of stuff on Woot's Apple accessories wise because they just keep putting the stuff on sale. And the nice thing is it's been one of the only places to be able to buy discounted, legitimate Leather Link straps because Apple doesn't sell them anymore. Well, guess what? I'm sure they still have a ton in stock, and they got to sell those dang things somewhere. So now Woot is selling them, and they're usually at least half off. So I hate to give these guys a free plug. I'm gonna send them an invoice, a sponsorship invoice, and just see if they'll pay it. You owe me $5,000. Just is that fraud? I don't know if that's technically fraud. Maybe I shouldn't do that. But I'm gonna just look here to see if they have
Send them
any.
a polite but firm email, non-legally binding.
I'll download like some law firm like header from the offices of Elijah and Brothers. Let's see here.
Mhm.
Is that a like a good legal firm name? I'm gonna have to workshop that. Anyway, I can't find them. That's the one thing about Woot that I don't like at all. Is like, why don't they have a search? Why don't they have a search box on their website? How weird is that?
Can you go to Google and do like sitewoot.com and then just type it in that way, or do they stop Google from indexing their site
Oh,
too?
you know what? That's an interesting question. Let's see if I can just go to Google and then do let's see,
Look, this is what happens when there's no news. This is the
MagSafe
stuff that we talk
Wallet.
about.
MagSafe Wallet Woots. Look, I warned you all. Okay, here we go. Oh, that did work. Brought up a bunch. Let's see here. Of course, these may not. Oh, dude, yeah, look at that. They've got them right here. So they've got Apple MagSafe leather wallets. They're not that discounted though. $45. Normal price is 60. So, yeah, they have them here, and they only have orange right now, which actually Lewis would be into. I'm not a big orange guy. I actually have the forest green already. Oh, is this forest green? No, this might be blue. But I love my MagSafe wallet, although I don't like that it only holds 3 credit cards total. I feel like that's a little slim, but totally Apple philosophy. It's like, oh, well, you have Apple Wallet. Why would you even need a wallet anymore? It's like, well,
I'm sure it's not a problem for the Apple designers in Cupertino
yeah,
and
that's
the
right.
Bay Area who use Apple Pay everywhere.
that's right. And they only carry like maybe an ID and 1 credit card.
Hmm.
That's the one thing about Apple design
Especially
stuff.
considering the Apple Card is thicker than a standard credit card. So if you actually carry your titanium Apple Card in that wallet, you're pretty much down to 2.
Well, that's exactly why that makes so much sense. That's hilarious, actually, because they probably only do an ID and their titanium Apple Card, and that's literally all it fits. If you have normal credit cards, you could fit 3 cards in there, but even 3 cards is a really snug fit. But I would love if they made a version that carried a lot more cards. I have a whole stack of cards, man. It's like literally an inch stack of different cards I use for my personal life, for my business
So you
stuff.
want an inch thick stack like hanging off on MagSafe on the back of your phone?
So for my phone, it actually makes sense, and that's because I have the MagSafe wallet here. Let me go full screen here. So I actually like that. Oh, let me see if I can turn on tracking here. Oh, I had it on. So with my specific case, because it has such a large lip, let's see, is this gonna work? I turned it off. I have no idea how to turn it back
Oh,
on.
it's focused.
Is
It's
it?
focused on your phone. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can see I have like this big lip on the back of my phone.
Mm.
And so when I have my MagSafe wallet on there, it kind of fills out that space that is left void of any actual phone, because this Rhino Shield case that I use extends beyond the back of the phone so far. So for me, it actually is nice because it gives me a little something to hold on to.
Yeah.
But for people that don't have a case and just carry a phone and the MagSafe wallet, that actually might be kind of annoying. It's already pretty thick. If you look at it, it extends like maybe 1/4 of an inch on the back of the phone.
Mm.
And I feel like if you didn't have a case like protecting the actual wallet, the wallet might fall off your phone pretty easily because you're constantly rubbing on it. Because I have this Rhino Shield Crash Card case, one of the best cases ever made. It protects my wallet from being pushed in different directions. Because I mean, this thing stays on pretty good, but like you can see, like it's not super hard to move around magnetically, and if you disconnect it from its main magnetic spot, it will pull off pretty easily. So it does feel a little precarious having it just on your phone without a case. I'm sorry. Is this the most boring segment that we've ever done? You guys are listening to me describe how my MagSafe wallet attaches my case. Let's move on and forget this ever happened. So, Verizon and Woot, 2 great places to get serious discounts on Apple accessories if you're looking for genuine Apple stuff, and especially if you're looking for the leather stuff, you don't want the fine woven, which I don't know what I'm going to do after my leather wallet and strap wear out, because I am not buying fine woven, man. I'm just not going to do it. Like, I've seen way too many bad reviews of them getting stained and stuff. I'm not going to pay premium prices for a plastic strap or a plastic wallet. So I will only do leather going forward. In fact, I'm thinking about going full leather, like just leather clothes, cowboy hat, and only wearing one leather outfit. And you only need one. If you get a leather outfit, you might spend like $400 on the clothes. But after that, you never need to buy clothes again, because that leather outfit will last your entire life.
Yeah, it's going to get smelly inside there, though. And what do you do on laundry day?
Well, that's the thing. There is no laundry day, because you never take it off. I've thought about this, and about smelly. I mean, look, that just goes with the territory, man. Like, real men, it's okay to have a slight odor. Don't you think? I would consider it to be
okay. If you're wearing all leather clothing, it's not gonna be a slight odor.
It's gonna be a musk.
Yeah,
it's gonna be a definite musk. People will know that I'm coming down the road. Or I guess what I could do is maybe
people go, oh God, what's that horrible smell? And then they'll turn around and see that you walked past them on the sidewalk.
I'd be like Steve Jobs in the Atari days. So here's the revised plan. Okay, that's not a bad point. So instead of doing like like a full-on leather shirt, you get leather pants, leather vest, leather jacket. Okay, so then you could take the jacket off, and then you got the air, right? You got some good ventilation, right? Because you got the vest on.
Yeah,
and then you're good. Think about it.
I see nothing wrong with that plan.
I don't either. I have to run it by my wife. I haven't mentioned this plan to her, but I can't see why she would say no.
Anyways, the Apple Watch.
Keep you all informed about that. All right, maybe we should turn this into a segment. Maybe. Apple's future, Airfon's future leather outfit plans.
Yeah,
we'll workshop this. All right, so I think we've sufficiently flogged this story to death. There's nothing else here.
If you're curious on other things Apple is doing in 2024, like what the current rumor mill is, I put up a video on the Cult of Mac YouTube channel. Everything Apple's working on in 2024, which covers iPhone, Mac, iPad, all that other stuff too.
I'm looking at the chat. Yeah, it's Airfon Musk. It's like Elon Musk. There you go. It's not that different. All right, let's move on. Okay, before we do though, let me tell you all a little bit more about Songfinch quickly, and what a beautifully unique gift Songfinch is. Like I said, Songfinch, let me bring this up here, is the ultimate gift, an original radio quality song inspired by your story. It's unique, personal, and lasts forever. And I happen to have gone through the process to get my own original song, and I found it to be truly interesting. And what I think is interesting about Songfinch is it's a gift that's perfect for people who are hard to get gifts for, particularly older people, right? Like your mom, your wife, maybe your wife isn't older, or maybe your wife is older, in which case, go you. Your dad, anyone in your life who has enough money to just buy what they want. That's the hard part about buying people gifts, is most people who are older, when they want something, they just buy it for themselves. They don't wait for you. And for guys like us, like, well, what do I want? I want like a hard drive. My wife doesn't even know anything about hard drives. She's not going to buy me the hard drive that I want. And so for people like that, they want something that has sentimental value. So something like a picture, a drawing, an experience. And I think an original song is something that they would really appreciate. So how does it work? You basically go through this process that's pretty simple. You pick an artist. They have a page that is full of musicians, and you can listen to different snippets of their songs and choose one that has a style that you like. And here's where it gets really interesting. So you provide them some information about yourself, your spouse, whoever you want the song written about. It takes probably like 15, 20 minutes. And you don't have to give them a ton, but you have to give them enough detail to work it into the song. And then you just wait. It takes 4 to 7 days after you've gone through this process. And then you get a song delivered to you. And it's such a weird experience because you listen to this song and it's so personal. Like the artist that I had make my song took all this detail and wove it into like this beautiful song about myself, our family, my wife, like when we met. And it's almost like this person knows you. And it's kind of funny because it's a deeply impactful gift that makes you feel like you spent a lot of time on, but you really in actuality didn't do very much. Like you spent very little time to create this. It's the artist that was able to work all of this into this beautiful song, and it makes you feel like you did something when in reality you did very little. And yet you wound up with like this deeply personal gift that feels handmade, but they weren't made by your hands. So all that to say, it really is a cool present. And I think if you have someone in your life that you feel like is a little bit sentimental or would appreciate something like handmade or custom made, this is a really great gift. For a limited time, Songfinch is letting our listeners upload their song on Spotify for free, so you can listen to your new favorite song wherever you go. They did that for me too. Go to songfinch.com/cultcast and start your song. After purchase, you'll be prompted to add Spotify streaming to your original song for free. That is a $50 value. The offer is only valid for our listeners though, and you have to use our special URL to get it. Songfinch.com/cultcast, songfinch.com/cultcast. That's songfinch.com/cultcast. Don't wait, get started now. Remember, it takes 4 to 7 days to create your song. So you won't get it right away. It's quick, but it's not instant. And the other thing is they're the only service that allow you to completely fine-tune the lyrics if you don't like them without any additional cost. So you can make the song exactly how you want it at songfinch.com/cultcast. I wonder if they do raps. That'd be pretty cool. I don't think they do, but I didn't check.
You need a lot more detail because that's more, words and detail per minute.
Oh, it's like really dense with words. Yeah. Oh, that's an interesting observation. Okay. We'll have to look into this. Maybe I would love to have a rap written about Prison Lou.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had somebody tweet me this week that he's been dethroned by this punk kid called Luke the Nuke in the game of darts, like this whiz kid who's up and coming. And they call him the Nuke because boom, he just launches these things with such precision into the dartboard. Mm-hmm. There's like no shaft left. Just go straight in. Bullseye every single one. Boom, 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 boom. And this guy's like, what do you think? Like, do you think this guy could take out Lewis? And I'm like, Prison Lewis has hundreds of hours of practice, in solitary. Nothing but him in his 8x8 with the dartboard. So I don't think so, but this kid's got promise. It's going to be interesting to see where this guy goes.
Real life Lewis is, tech journalist, editor Lewis. So he's not, the Lewis we have in our timeline is not peak darts Lewis. Prison Lewis, that's a whole different level.
That was a whole other life that he lived. Yeah. Man, I would love to see like a Marvel character based off Prison Lou. And he's perfect for the multiverse because he has so many different facets to him and so many different skill sets that he could be useful in all these different timelines. He's violent in all of them. Yeah. But he has different skill sets. Like one of them, he could be a chef.
That is the one constant about Lewis, his fits of rage and violence.
His uncontrolled temper, and the pending lawsuits in every single multiverse of him just attacking people for no good reason. That's probably the binding thread there. All right, let's move on. Let's what else have we got? We're going way long here. How's that even possible? We haven't even done the second story yet. Oh yeah, so I just wanted to mention this, and it pains me deeply to bring up a website of this caliber. So I want to apologize to everyone. We're going to 9to5 Mac. They seem to be the only ones covering this week. Ew. So I apologize in advance.
You're gonna need to take a shower after this.
Get your Tums ready. Here we go. So there is a U.S. antitrust case that is, quote, firing on all cylinders in the U.S. against Apple's App Store. According to the head of the Department of Justice responsible for policing breaches of competition law. I think this is really interesting. The implication is that Apple may soon be forced to allow third-party app stores and or sideloading in the U.S. They're already having to do this in Europe, as many of you know. Antitrust regulators have long been investigating Apple's exclusive control over third-party iPhone apps. Whether you're a consumer wanting to buy an iPhone or a developer wanting to sell one, there's only one place you can do this, on the App Store. Apple has complete control over which app it allows into the App Store, which is part of my problem with it, even though it is their app store, I think that's kind of bogus. And the company sets its own terms, including 15 to 30% commissions, which developers and consumers alike have to accept. Many regulators consider this a breach of competition law, which I think is interesting because there are other marketplaces. But my main argument has always been that the modern internet is apps. Everyone accesses their internet through apps. I don't care what Apple charges. That's up to them. What I don't like is that they get to control what apps end up in the marketplace, so they get to be the gatekeepers of the internet. Like, we would never be okay if Comcast said, hey, we're not going to allow darts websites anymore because we don't like darts. Or we have our own darts league, and if you want to visit a darts website, it needs to be a Comcast-owned property. Like, we would never be okay with that. But Apple is doing that. They're saying that they get to control which apps exist, and so you can only download the apps that they think are appropriate. Well, apps are the way everyone accesses data from the internet now. So I don't think that's fair. Like, if you buy a device from Apple unsubsidized, then you should have the ability to load whatever the heck you want onto that device. It's like the right to repair. Like, you own it. And if you want to circumvent the App Store, you can already do it on your Mac. There's absolutely no reason that Apple should not allow this. Now, they're going to say security. But even though I think that is a legitimate argument, security is your decision, not Apple's. Like, you can decide how secure you want to be. That's the prerogative you have on your Mac. Why would they not allow it on the iPhone? Well, I think it's pretty obvious, because if they allow you to do that and circumvent the App Store, they're going to make way less money off you. Now, look, I own a lot of Apple stock. I still think it's bogus. I still would like to see this opened up. But it looks like now there's an official case, and this will be decided in the U.S. I don't know what's going to happen. I tend to think that this will not end up the same as the case in the EU, because, I don't know, I think it's a tough argument to make that they're a monopoly, because there are other devices and other ecosystems that you can go into. I mean, a monopoly means that there are no other options. You have other options. You just don't have an option if you choose to purchase into the Apple ecosystem, but you're doing that knowing that you're doing that. So, I don't know. Any thoughts on this, Griffin? We don't need to belabor it, but
I will say, to your example that you used there, that it is totally legal for Comcast to block access to certain websites or speed limit websites because the FCC revoked net neutrality rules. But that's a whole different argument. I still agree with the overall point you're making. I think that Apple should have loosened this a long time ago. And I also think that during I can't remember which trial this came out in, but during one of them, there was an email that leaked, I think, from Phil Schiller's from around like 2011 or maybe 2012, where he said, hey guys, are we going to stick with this 30% cut forever? Because, that was 30% was, kind of like what we said at the start. Are we going to lower it down to 15%? And then everybody else said, nope, we went with the full 30%. Summarizing an email, but that I read a long time ago. But I think I have a theory that I don't think Apple would be in the center of all of this regulatory whirlwind, the App Store specifically, if they had been a little less greedy about taking the full 30%, and clutching that to as if their life depends on it. If they had lowered it to 15%, without facing all of this external pressure, all of the big companies like Netflix and Facebook and Epic especially probably wouldn't have been causing such a big, and Spotify as well, none of those companies would be creating such a big stink about Apple's 30% tax and the App Store, and how the App Store is a monopoly on the iPhone. And then, ergo, that might not have led to this regulatory pressure from the Department of Justice in the first place. I think if this goes the way that the tech regulators in Washington want it to go, if it goes the way the Department of Justice wants this to go, where Apple is forced to open the App Store to all these third parties, in the future, people might look back on this as one of like the stinking points on Tim Cook's tenure as CEO, that he so desperately clung to his 30% tax that they opened themselves up to this level of scrutiny.
yeah, I don't know. I think if they had lowered it to 15%, people would complain that that's still too high. But I think that probably would have helped. And I have to admit, like, I've been researching the podcasts, like the private podcast feed through Apple. I forget what they call it. And they want 30% of that revenue for a whole year. And then it drops down to 10%. But even 10% is dang high. Like as a podcast person, 30%, like I have never heard of a platform taking 30%. Like if you had an ad network selling ads on your behalf, they might take 30+%, but they're bringing you the advertisers. But to do nothing but accept the payment and provide you like a private RSS feed, to take 30%, I think is outrageous. And 10% is also very high. Like it should be 5%. And, Apple.
And the nice thing about podcasting is that podcasts are an open platform. So sure, Apple takes an egregious 30%. That's a big surprise why the whole Apple private podcasting membership thing hasn't really taken off. Because podcasting is an open standard. It's just an RSS feed with an audio file attached. So no wonder. The App Store, if you want to sell on the App Store, you have no other options.
That's right. Well, we could do a whole podcast episode on how Apple has squandered the podcast space. I mean, they're like the YouTube of podcasts. They are a monopoly functionally because everyone gets their podcasts from Apple, and yet they have done almost nothing to make the platform flourish in any way. Like there's all these ideas. You're gonna get me triggered. I was going back and forth with this guy who used to work at Apple on the podcast team, and he was in the marketing area of podcasts, giving him some suggestions on how I thought things should work. And he basically like gave me the Drake hand and was like, none of that's important because the only way people discover podcasts is by hearing about them from their friends. And I was like, that is mind blowing that you think that's true. Like the fact that you think that's like, if that's the case, why do they need to hire you? Like, what are you doing there? If everyone is learning about podcasts from their friends, then literally, why are they paying you? There's nothing that you can do to help them. They should just let you go. And he eventually did go. But there's so many things that could be done with discovery. That's one of the reasons that why people love YouTube and TikTok, because their discovery is so incredibly powerful. Like, you don't need to do anything maybe that's not necessarily true, but as a creator, as long as you make interesting content, it will be found on YouTube and TikTok. And I always tell people, and this is not even a joke, podcasting is like making something beautiful, putting it into a cannon and shooting it out into space, and hoping that there's somebody in a spacesuit out there floating that will see it and want to engage with it. Like that's literally what it's like. Unless you bring your own audience, there's absolutely no way to grow as a podcast, which is why all the biggest podcasts are networks like NPR, New York Times, and then comedians who have an audience that they bring to the podcast. That's the way that you grow a podcast. Like I said, I could do a whole masterclass on this. Does anyone want to pay me? Anyone? No, probably not. But podcasts have been squandered incredibly. I wish Apple would hire me because I could fix it, but I don't know if they're interested in fixing it because there's not a lot of money in it for them. I think they're trying to figure out how to monetize it, and this 30% cut of podcast revenue was their play for that. But the problem
Everybody's trying to figure out how to monetize podcasts. Yeah. Like, with Spotify doing their private shows there's been a startup like every 6 months about trying to be like the Netflix of podcasts, but there never will be because podcasts started for 20 years as an open standard, and it's going to remain that way. It's just fixated that way. People listen to podcasts in whatever podcast player they want. People host podcasts on whatever blog like Squarespace or something self-hosted or Libsyn or whatever they want. You can't wrangle control out from the giant population of people all doing their own weird thing.
Yeah, man, it's such a mess. Yeah, I could go on, but this is not probably very interesting to many people. Yeah.
As a clarification about that statement, that is a good thing. Podcasts are an open standard, and that is a good thing. And if there was one all-controlling monopoly, like sure, Apple has a monopoly on like the podcast like hosting network, of all that. But they, as you mentioned, they keep kind of a light foot on it. I think it's actually better that way, because it's an independent system that. Oh, I don't need to go on about this again.
Well, look, I mean, the thing that I would like to see them do better is discovery, right? So this is where the big problem with podcasts lie is there's like you go to YouTube, you press the homepage, YouTube will show you a selection of content, and depending on how you engage with that in content, they'll refine their algorithm and show you more and different stuff, and they'll fine-tune your homepage until they get a mix that is custom to you. And that isn't the way that podcasts work. And I feel like that's the really big missing piece. Like, I'm happy that it's open too. I don't want Apple to be the exclusive owner of podcasts. YouTube isn't the exclusive owner of videos, but they are the monopoly because they were one of the first people to really take it on, and they keep making their platform better and better. And Apple has neglected their position as the owners of this medium by and large. They've just done nothing with it. And it sits there, and so many people love podcasts, but how do you find a podcast that you really love? Well, unfortunately, I think that this Apple guy may have been right, but not because it's naturally the way things work. It's because they did no work to make it better. Like, the only way to learn about new podcasts is from your friends, not because there aren't other ways, because Apple doesn't care to make any changes to the podcast platform. Like, when you listen to a podcast, it should be indexing everything that everyone says. Anyway, I'm going on. See, I told you I wouldn't do this, but
Tell your friends about the Cultcast.
so that's the answer. Tell your friends about, first, make friends. Next, tell friends about Cultcast. That's the two-step process. Yeah, I haven't
forgot about that first one.
Forgot about that first one. Yeah. All right, everyone. Should we talk about Mac gaming? Do we even want to do this? Does anyone care? Well, we're going to do it anyway. It's in the show notes. Doggone it. We're going to do it. I actually thought this was kind of interesting that Apple is making a big play into gaming this year. There's a great story on Inverse.com. I'd never even heard of Inverse.com, but they have this piece is by Raymond Wong, and they have interviews with actual Apple people. And they go on to talk about how gaming in many ways was very popular in the Mac's early days. And I bet a lot of you didn't know this, but Halo, the game that everyone knew and loved, the first-person shooter that defined first-person shooters for a whole generation or more, it started off on the Mac. The company that created the game, Bungie, made the game for Mac, and that's where it started. And then Microsoft purchased Bungie at a certain point and brought the game to Xbox and PC. And ever since then, Apple has been a joke in the gaming world. And the story basically talks about how with the M series of chips, Apple has built gaming, has intentionally made gaming a part of the system, the SoC. Like, they want gaming to be a thing on the Mac again. And they have Apple Arcade, of course. I think they're trying to woo some third-party developers into making content for the Mac because they're saying that hardware is no longer a limiting factor on the Mac because their SoC is so powerful in the gaming space. I don't know at this point if there's anything they can do. I would love to hear your thoughts on this, Griffin. Like, it feels like the ship is so far sailed past them. They would literally have to buy Microsoft, or they would have to buy EA or Activision, and Microsoft just bought Activision. Like, they would have to buy a really major game studio to become a player in the gaming space, because I don't think that people who buy Macs care about gaming on Mac. So, and they have a content problem. They don't have the content, and they don't have people who want to game on their Macs, at least not serious gamers. So I think the ship has sailed. What do you think?
I actually wrote a blog post about this that I only remembered until just now. I'll put it in the show notes and on our shared Google Doc here. The Inverse story that you mentioned skips over what I think is an important counterpoint in that Mac gaming hasn't been dead. It's since the turn of the century. There actually was kind of another golden age around the late Intel era. So here's a list of some commonly cited Mac games that actually came out during the Intel era where supposedly Mac gaming was dead. Shadow of the Tomb Raider 2019, Civilization 6 2016, Stardew Valley, Hades, The Sims 4, Fortnite actually it came out on the Mac in 2017, Kerbal Space Program, Cities Skylines, I played that one a lot, Elder Scrolls Online, Cuphead. These are a lot of AAA titles that I think a lot of people forget actually did have a good Mac version in the mid 2010s. But the Mac gaming life cycle like comes and goes, because for every heyday they have, Apple then like sweeps the rug under like, pulls the rug from under them and says, well, no, we're killing all 32-bit apps with macOS Catalina. Oh, whoops, we're switching from macOS 9 to macOS 10, and all of the APIs that you were using through the 90s are just suddenly gone now. We're replacing input sprockets with this thing that nobody likes anymore. Apple, unlike Microsoft, is willing to pull the rug out from under the feet of their developers to keep the platform modern. But also that's not, they're building like a house of cards for game developers who are very, sensitive to like the costs of developing for an extra platform like this that doesn't share any other resources with their other platforms like consoles or PC. So the good thing though is that post Apple Silicon, to the point that people that these executives made in this Inverse article, every Apple Silicon Mac is a pretty capable gaming computer. Not the best, not to compete with like, a custom built PC, but every Apple Silicon Mac is at least somewhat competent and, can push, a comfortable, like, 60 frames per second at a relatively at a somewhat high resolution, maybe not with like the top graphic settings, but it's raising the floor of computing. And whereas before, the bottom of the line Intel MacBook didn't even have a fan. It had this crummy chip that could barely do anything. So the other thing that has changed since I wrote this article is that, I end it saying Apple's going to have to, if they want to bring back Mac gaming, there's a number of things they want to do. They not only do they need to ship a bunch of Macs, they also need to make it more attractive and easier to port games over to the Mac platform, because if it's complicated to port, nobody's going to bother and nobody cares. Well, Apple's already done the first thing. The past few years, since the Apple Silicon transition, have been the best-selling years of the Mac in its entire history. There are now more Apple Silicon Macs out there than there, ever were before. The other thing is that since macOS Sonoma, Apple released the game, I don't remember exactly what it's called, the game development porting toolkit, some permutation of those words that makes it incredibly easy. It's built off of this, decades-long technology called Wine that will, on the fly, like recompile your PC program to run on the Mac. Apple added on top of that open project with their own, engineering marvels to make it really easy to, get a starting point of here's what a basic, very little effort port of your game looks like from PC to Mac OS. And then you go the next level on top of that and, convert some of the graphics APIs to Metal, what have you, optimize for, all of the fun Apple APIs. We'll have to see if that actually leads to more Mac ports. Apple is doing, I feel like, almost everything. They're doing more than the bare minimum. They're at least trying. They acknowledge the pain points that developers have, and they are trying to make it easier for Mac ports to happen. We'll see if that actually leads to any additional sales, though.
I'm not saying that you can't game on a Mac. I think that it's cool. Maybe I'm being too negative. I do like that they're making this effort and they're giving you more value. If you buy a Mac, you can game on it. There are games that exist for your Mac. Like, that's really cool. And you don't necessarily need to buy a gaming PC. Now, I have both. But I don't think that they're ever going to be the choice for gamers because of the ecosystem. I mean, I'm going to say something that's incredibly silly, cliche. But, like, gaming is a way of life. You know what I mean? It's like the people who game are into the peripherals. They want to customize everything. They want to build their own rig. They want to shop graphics cards. They want to overclock their PC. They want to have the RGB in sync with their keyboard and their mouse and their motherboard. Don't shake your head at that. Gaming is life. See, you're not a real gamer.
I don't think Apple is trying to. Apple knows that they will never win that kind of customer if the executives in charge of this thing know anything about gaming culture. You have to consider what the audience that is capable of being converted is. And I think Apple's, if the executives in charge of these decisions are smart, they will know that those people will never buy a Mac, the people they're trying to convert are the people who are interested in a Mac, who are like, oh, but I can only afford one computer. You know, if
Yeah.
I buy a Mac, can I still play like the two or three games that I might be interested in, you know, and still be happy?
But see, that kind of contradicts this story where they say they're making a big push into gaming. Like when I read that, maybe I'm misunderstanding this, but it seems like Mac they're trying to make a name for the Mac as being a gaming machine.
Mhm.
And that's where I think they're going to have a big problem. Like, I don't think that you're going to be able to pull that off very easily. Now, can Apple pull it off? Sure. But they're missing two big components. They're missing the games. Now, there are some AAA games that are available, but some is not
Some is
convincing.
not enough.
Yeah, right. Like if you want to be taken seriously, like all Steam games need to be available on Mac, or 98% of them, right? Like it can't be a selection of your Steam library available on Mac. So you're missing that piece, and then you're also missing the other big piece, which I think is a bigger uphill battle. Culturally, Macs are a joke in the gaming space. Like it is almost a meme. People do not take Mac seriously as a gaming machine, and that is going to be very difficult to change. And if you want those people to consider a Mac, there's just going to be a lot of work that you have to do. And that seems to me to be the point of this story. Like that's where Apple wants to head. I mean, they had Halo on the Mac when it launched. Like that's a primary core hardcore gaming game, right? It's like
They
Call of
announced
Duty
it
or
on
something.
stage at a keynote before Microsoft pulled it out from them.
Wow, I didn't realize that. Of course, now Microsoft doesn't even know Bungie. So funny. Oh my goodness, that's Bungie's been passed around, and they're still making great stuff. I mean, they make Destiny now, which is what Halo probably should have been. But in any case, I just thought this was a really interesting story. I mean, the new Macs are so unbelievably powerful, and
Mhm.
they're such amazing machines, and it's cool to see them move into this gaming space and try to take it more seriously. But as I wouldn't even classify myself as a hardcore gamer. I don't like mouse keyboard gaming. Like I actually don't like that control mechanism, so that pretty much eliminates me as like a serious person from the gaming space. I do like RGB enough that maybe it puts me back into the category. I like to have all my RGB matching across the entire system. So maybe I'm back in, but I don't spend, 40 hours a week playing games either. So I can't do a 360 no scope, but I do know what that means, and I bet you a lot of you don't. So maybe I'm more of a gamer. Do you know what a 360 no scope is, Griffin?
No scope is when you don't have the scope on, which I think it helps with aiming. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure what a
Oh,
360 is.
dude, you know what?
Is that a
I'll
variety of gun?
I'll be generous. So a 360 no scope is like a move in like a FPS shooter like Call of Duty where you jump up into the air, and this is a show off tactic. Now, you're holding a sniper gun or sniper gun. My goodness, you're holding a sniper rifle, which normally people who are using a sniper rifle, even if they zoomed in, couldn't hit something because it's such a hard
Mhm.
weapon to use because you have to have such precise aiming. And they'll do like a 360 in the air, right? And then they will no scope kill you. So like they'll shoot without even using the scope and get you, which is incredibly difficult to do. Or they'll do like a quick scope. So like instead of zooming in and like aiming, they will zoom in, but as they're zooming in, they'll be aiming at the same time. And as soon as they reach like the extension of the zoom, so it's like a really quick action, boom, they fire and then they unscope. So it's like a split second move. You have to have absolute precision aiming on your keyboard and mouse hand to pull something like that off. And then, of course, you add in the 360, which now you're just showing off, right? Like most people couldn't even do a no scope, but you're jumping up in the air doing a 360 and then pulling off the no scope at the end is like the ultimate, like gamer move to show your degree of skill in a game.
I'm going to counter that with an example of my flavor of video game nerdery. Are you familiar with what a
Right?
backwards long jump parallel universe jump is?
No, I can't say that I am.
So
Should I hang my head in shame?
this is a glitch in Super Mario 64 because like very early, very buggy 3D game that allows you to jump backwards against a particular like polygon arrangement of the walls, like the environment. You jump backwards, and the game is programmed to, if you're going backwards, you can just continue accumulating negative speed.
Huh.
Because obviously, why would they program around that? That's such an edge case. Why would you just continuously build up negative speed like that? Well, you can do that. And if you do that for like 40 minutes or like an hour or 2 hours continuously, you can build up enough negative speed such that on the next frame, or no, on the next like 60th of a frame, the Mario will jump so far backwards that his positioning integer in the level that he's in will loop back around, and you will enter what is called a parallel universe inside the level.
Really?
Yeah.
That's insane. So is that something that like a hidden aspect of the game that you can only reach in a specific way, or did it just happen to be a glitch that people could invoke?
It's a glitch. It's a glitch people found and discovered such that you could eliminate a single A press in the game. If you build up enough negative speed, then you can traverse and like climb walls and climb terrain without actually pushing the A button and jumping. And that is called the A button challenge, where you try to beat Super Mario 64 pressing the A button as little as possible.
Dude, I was listening to this guy. So I always have thought that speedrunning games has been incredibly boring. Like I don't understand why people do it. But I saw this video where this guy was describing people speedrunning Mike Tyson's Punch Out, and how they figured out and reverse engineered how the game worked so that they could get through in the fastest amount of time, and they're trying to shave seconds off. And I have to admit, it was one of the most doggone fascinating things I've seen in the gaming space in a long time. Hearing him talk about the process of going through to figure out like how you need to move in order to like get to Tyson in the smallest amount of time, and how some of it is skill, and then a lot of it is just chance, because the algorithm based off in the game will determine whether or not you can beat some of the previous bosses quickly or not. And I actually found it to be really interesting. I don't know if I still want to watch speed gaming because it's incredibly tedious to watch someone try to do the same Mario level 100 times, but now at least I respect it. All right, well, we're way over. And this has nothing to do with Apple stuff at all. But that's fine, because we're done now. We got one more thing to talk about, of course, and that is an all-new... We decided to do what we're into, right? Yeah, what do I have?
Yeah.
Under review here. Good, because I have nothing for under review that I'm willing to talk about right now. All new what we're into. So this is the stuff that we're into that is not related to Apple, of which there are many things that we like to do in our free time. Do you want to go first here, Griffin? I'm kind of unsure what I should pitch. I've got a couple things I was thinking about, but like when you're sitting at a restaurant and the waiter is getting close to you and you have to just make a decision right before he gets to you, I feel like that's going to be what I have to do.
Okay, sure, I can go first. So I don't know. I have a few things written down. I might just pick one of them. I might also just go off the wall, which I do like doing. I find great joy in doing that. So I'm going to close my text edit window here.
Okay.
And I'm going to this whole episode, we have not stayed focused for 5 freaking minutes. So I'm going to go no notes. What I have been into over the last year, I've been really into sausage.
Oh boy, here we go. Now you're talking my language.
You need to understand that left
right.
to my own devices, I will eat an inordinate amount of pasta.
Okay.
You know, I have my own recipe. I've been honing it for years. I've previously described that I'm very picky about the way I prepare my pasta and cook it. You know, I didn't come from an Italian family genealogically to any significant degree.
Oh really? Oh, I thought you were like part Italian.
I'm like probably 1/16 Italian or something like that. You know, I'm just a standard
good enough to go to Harvard.
Middle American Midwestern white guy.
Yeah.
You know, 10% from any other country.
Okay.
In Europe, but you know, so there was no like singular culture that I was engaged in growing up. Nothing significant. The closest thing to that is that my grandma made pasta, and so you know, I'll do that too. I'll make that my thing as well. You know, Christmas comes around, I'll make biscotto and biscotti and pizzelles, stuff like that. So the downside, though, is that is a lot of empty carbohydrates and not a lot of nutrition. Mm-hmm. So to counterbalance that, I've developed a meal that I prepare that is entirely protein and vegetables. So when I eat that, you know, somewhere in there you might approach a normal human diet. So what I do is I just get a pack of, uncooked sausages, 5 each for a meal. I'll boil the sausages, cut them up into small little slices, and I'll take
Boil
half
them,
of them.
huh? Okay.
Well, you do a little pre-boil,
Okay.
just to then you cut them up, and then you fry them in a pan, and then you drop in a frozen bag from Walmart of red, green peppers and onions, and then you just cook that all together with the sausages.
All right.
Add in, look,
I
this
I
isn't
don't
a
like
good.
cooked bell
I don't
peppers.
recommend this.
Th-
I
th-
do not
this-
recommend this whatsoever. But it's what we're into. This is what bizarre things I've been into. Then you add some various flavorings. In my case, you buy a bunch of condiments from the store for like the one thing that you're going to cook with it, and then, oh well, what else am I going to do with this weird sauce that I have like 2/3 of a bottle left over for? Throw that in. Yeah, make a combination. Add in some spices. It's just a pile of sausage and various vegetables, and sometimes it comes out good. And then the rest of the week, because you've consumed a lot of protein and vegetables, it balances out the amount of pasta that you eat as well.
I'm not sure that's true, but it is an interesting idea. It's
I'm
funny.
not a medical expert. I'm also, if you can't tell, not a chef.
I love eating meat, and I also make my own beef jerky. I tried my hand at smoking, although I wasn't very good at it. And I've actually been thinking about going on a all meat diet for a period of time, because I keep hearing people talk about how great they feel doing an all meat diet, and it's just like super high protein, good if you're working out a lot. And I haven't committed myself to doing it yet, but I'm like 80% sure that I'm probably going to try it for at least a couple of weeks and just see how I feel. And I've heard nothing but good things about it. And now people have different nutritional requirements, so I don't know if this would work for everybody, but I feel like for my body type, like I feel better when I eat low carb, high protein. So like, what happens if I just eat all protein all the time? I'm probably just going to be absolutely yoked. I'll be like, spacing out on his name, Jeff Bezos. I don't know if you've taken a look at Jeff Bezos recently.
Can't say I have.
Dude, that dude. So Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon, he's no longer at Amazon. He's doing things with Blue Origin, his rocket ship company. And I mention this occasionally because I think it's funny, but it's also true. Like, he used to be a skinny, little, wiry dude. And you look at him now, and he looks like a stunt double for Arnold Schwarzenegger. That is no joke. The guy is completely yoked. I mean, his arms are huge. His chest is huge. And I'm like, how do you go from being a skinny little nerd guy to Arnold Schwarzenegger level stunt double? I don't know if it's the protein, if he's injecting testosterone directly into his aorta. I don't know what that guy's doing, but he looks great. And I'm thinking maybe if I just get my track on with that protein, do some more weights, I could get a little bit bigger. I don't want to get as big as him, to be honest. Like, I wouldn't even be surprised to learn that Jeff Bezos, like the actual Jeff Bezos, is dead. And this is like a clone or a cyborg wrapped in human tissue. He looks that different. When you see the pictures side by side, I should probably bring this up. When you see the pictures side by side, it is shocking. Jeff Bezos. Let me see if I can just bodybuilding. Let me see if I can just. Oh, look at this guy. I'm gonna see if I can pull up an image. And yeah, there's all sorts of. Oh my goodness. Oh my dude. Is that Jeff? That can't be him. No, that's not him. That's Vin Diesel. Okay. I was like, dude, that cannot be Jeff Bezos. But okay, this is a great one, man. Oh, dude, this is I'm back. Okay, we're back. We lost you guys for a split second. Chat, are you there? Oh man, we got some super chats in here. Cat sausage party going on today, apparently. Okay, we'll move on because I need to do my pick. But let me just show you this one picture of Jeff Bezos. Boom, dude, look at this guy. He looks absolutely ripped. Now, for those of you listening, he's wearing jeans and a vest, and he's got these killer sunglasses on, man. I wonder where he got those things. But he looks like the Terminator. Like, he looks absolutely huge. And I don't know if I could pull up a picture of him when he's skinny, but he used to be a skinny little nerd guy. I don't know what this guy's doing, but he's doing something right. And I think that might be his all-meat diet. Well, we'll have to see. But we're way off in the weeds here. Okay, my apologies. So I have to pick something, don't I?
Yes.
Oh,
that is how this works.
I'm gonna pre-pick something that hasn't even come out yet that I'm super into. I've been following it extremely closely. It's a new camera that hasn't been announced, but I have a feeling it's going to be coming out in February. I think that one of the best cameras ever made for, let me see if I can pull this up. Let's see here. For most people is a camera called the Fujifilm X100V. Okay. This camera, you can't even buy it. I mean, it's been sold out everywhere for probably the last 2 years. It is a very compact camera with a fixed lens. You can't take the lens off. It's beautiful. It's got like this, 50s aesthetic style, and it takes absolutely beautiful pictures. Well, this camera blew up on TikTok at some point. I don't know when. And TikTokers were raving about how cool it looked, how great the pictures are. Fujifilm is really well known for film simulations. They do a good job at emulating film and creating like these beautiful, creamy, dreamy film effects that look like they're genuine. And so this camera has been impossible to get for the last year or two because TikTok people keep talking about it. So the rumor is that this camera is actually going to be updated in February. And that's one of the reasons why Fujifilm can't keep it in stock, because they're going to be creating an all-new version. Now, I think that this camera is not only like the best camera for most people, but it's going to be a video powerhouse because Fujifilm is adding tons of cool video features to all their cameras recently. It's going to take amazing pictures, and it's lightweight, super portable, easy to carry around and travel with. And if you're interested in cameras, keep your eyes on this, because once it gets released, it's probably going to sell out very quickly, and then it just will never be available after that, is my hypothesis, because these cameras sell out quick. But it looks like there is a upcoming Fuji event. So there's this website that I follow called Fuji Rumors. This is no joke. All they talk about is, guess what? Fuji. And they get insider tips from people inside Fuji, and they're saying that they think that there is going to be a Fuji summit on the 20th, and that this camera is going to be one of the ones that gets updated because it's been over 3 years since the last model came out. And so there's a really good chance that this camera is going to be updated. And I'm watching this thing like a hawk. Like, I haven't been this excited about any tech for a while, and I'm definitely going to buy it when it comes out, because Fujifilm cameras just take such unbelievably beautiful pictures, and they have this aesthetic that just inspires you to want to use them. And so for that reason, I've been watching this like a hawk, and it's something that I'm super into. I don't usually talk about tech in these segments, but if you're interested in cameras, I bring this up because you should definitely keep an eye on this, because when it comes
What I've
out,
heard about
they're
this,
going to be hard to get. Yeah.
Sorry. What I've heard about, I think it's the current one, the X100V. I've heard that its image stabilization isn't very good, that it's like, it's hard to get a clear picture on it that doesn't have some degree of motion blur to it.
I don't know if the X100V has image stabilization at all. I don't, because it's been out for 3 years. All the new Fujifilm cameras have image stabilization built in. And so I guarantee you they're going to fix that in this upcoming camera. And Fujifilm is trying to make a name for themselves in the video space. I think they have a lot of work to do in this space, but they've made a lot of gains in video. And so I would imagine it's going to have great image stabilization, and then also really good video features. Yeah, people are saying it's $1,800 on Amazon. That's because scalpers keep selling this camera. So never pay more than $1,400 for the camera. That's the list price. And if it's on Amazon, it's probably because someone bought it off of another website and is just selling it on Amazon, because that's what happens on Amazon. But when it comes out, it will be back to its normal price. Although I bet you anything that Fujifilm will raise the price to like $1,500 because they can. So something that's very, very, very hot on my list. And before we go any further, oh my goodness, we definitely have to read these super chats. We got 3 super chats. Super chaps. We got three super chaps in here. Well, I guess it's 2 chaps and 3 chats. We got Shahak Zarfati. Shahak Zarfati. Now that's a name. I don't even know what currency this is. I don't recognize that symbol at all. What kind of money did you even give us? I have no idea. You gave us $1.
I wish I could help you out, but I don't have the chat in front of me.
190 of something. I don't even know. Is that a shekel? Are those shekels? I don't know the dollar sign for that. We got Mooperson here who says, I've only got $2 for you guys, so you get my 199 pennies. Hey, I'll take it. Give me those $2. I appreciate y'all giving us money. Thank you for that. And then we got Shahak Sarfati. That's gotta be shekel. Sarfati is an Israeli last name, isn't it? So we got 1790 from Shahak. Big fan since iPhone 4S days. Wow, lots of love. Oh, from Israel. And yes, my last name is Sarfati. I said that right. I can't believe I got that right. Wow. Is that a shekel? Are those shekels, Shahak? I have never seen that currency symbol before. Looks cool, though. Wow. So I just find it mind-blowing that we have this group of people who've been listening since such early days and are still here. That means more to me than your money. I like the money, too, I'll be honest. But I love hearing that people have been listening for that long, because I always tell people jokingly, we've been doing this for 13 years, and I'm honestly not sure if it's getting better or worse. I really couldn't tell you. So I appreciate
it's hard
everyone.
To believe that the 2 of us have been podcasting for that long.
I know. It feels like we just met. How time flies. Unbelievable. I will also mention this. I am thinking about making some changes, nothing major, to the Cultcast, and I'm looking for people who wouldn't mind giving me some feedback. So if you're interested in doing that, ping me on the new X. I'm at Irfan, E-R-F-O-N. Or you can even send me an email, irfan@thecultcast.com, and just tell me that you're interested. And I want to do a couple things, and I'm not sure if it's going to be a good idea or not. And the thing about podcasts is we operate in a vacuum. Like we do the show live, so we do get some feedback from people, but we're not talking about feedback issues on the show, generally speaking. Maybe I could do a special stream. Maybe that would be a better way to do it. But if you're interested in giving me some feedback, either reach out to me on Twitter or ping me, irfan@thecultcast.com, and let me know. And I'm going to run some ideas by some of you all and see what you think. And with that, that's it. That's all the Cultcasts we have for you guys this week. First episode of 2024 with rocky start, but you know what?
There's 51 more episodes to do this year.
It's like, yeah, we'll get it right at some point in the year. There's 51 weeks left. That's all the Cultcasts we have for you guys this week, though. But of course, if you want to come hang out on the new X, I'm there at Irfan, E-R-F-O-N. Oh my goodness. I had at Lewis Wallace written under you this entire show, Griffin. I didn't even know. I told you there's something I was forgetting. How did we not notice that? I don't know. If you want to find Griffin, he's out there lurking. Just Google at D. Griffin Jones. He'll
you can
show
find
up.
me at Lewis Wallace on Twitter.
Yeah. If you have complaints, go ahead and send those to at Lewis Wallace. Griffin will be sure to reply to those. Let's see here. This has been the Cultcast, the best 30+ minute app conversation you're going to hear all week long. New episodes of the Cultcast come out every Thursday night. I want to thank everyone for listening, for hanging out live, and thanks for being a friend. I hope you all had a happy new year. We will see you guys next time. Oh man, I forgot to change the artwork again. I'm going to get that fixed. One of these days, everything's going to be fixed. And when that happens, I can just fade off into the sunset. I won't even need to be here anymore. I'll just let you and Lewis do it from now on. Actually, that might be one way to grow the audience. You guys just do it. All right, everyone. Have a good weekend. I'm hurtling towards the end stream button as we speak. I've had enough. I'm sure you have too. Go do something productive now, like listen to the talk show. No, don't do that. Just joking.